Welcome back to the podcast, Everyday Man of God Ministries. Great to have you here. You're going to be watching this on Rumble and YouTube. You'll be listening to it on Spotify, Breaker, not iTunes though, and a couple of lesser known ones, I believe. Not on iTunes. I don't know how. I'm not on iTunes, but maybe I do. Who knows? But if you're watching this, you'll see on the screen a picture of the Sadducees and the Pharisees. And tonight we're going to talk about the prayer for the dead. We're going to look at this a little bit differently. So, buckle up. So, many times, the Catholics, well, pretty much all the time, if you go to a lot of these places, Catholic Answers, Catholic, oh boy, now there's a couple of them I don't remember. But Catholic Answers is the big one. That's the one that was formed by Carl Keating, I believe he's the founder of it, Carl Keating, which he said some very strange things. In fact, he said in a debate one time that the Holy Spirit is not needed. Wow. Wow. When I first heard that, I paused the video that I was watching with him in it, and I couldn't believe. I actually did rewind it. And he did say what he said. Unbelievable. But he's the I think some guy, Jimmy Atkins or Akins or something like that. He's got a cowboy hat and beard. Now he answers it. I've watched a little bit of his stuff. He dances around it. He pretends he's direct, but he dances. But we want to talk about this because every time, I personally am King James Bible believer. That's what I'll always be because it's obvious. I hate to make it sound so simple, but it's obvious. You don't need theological, lack of a better word, degrees, philosophical views. You don't have to get in all that. That's a man-made doctrine. But let's kind of look at how this all started out. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole Maccabean revolt, but we'll talk a little bit about this. So we know from 167 to 160 was the Maccabean revolt. That was led by, I believe his name was, Joseph or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's his name. Not Josephus, that's a different guy. Joseph Maccabeus. And Maccabeus, something like that. I'm not good with the last name, but it's not really important at this moment. Or Judas. Judas, I think his name was. But we have to look at this. Who wrote Maccabees? Those of you who are Roman Catholic know, and those of you who are not may not know. I don't know. So we'll talk about this as if you don't know. It was by a gentleman named Jason of Cyrene. He is actually considered an unknown Hellenistic Jew. Unknown, which is, now maybe there'd be a debate. It's unknown because that's how they said it back then, or he really doesn't know because there's not much known about this guy's life. They say he may have been, it's possible, born on the western edge of the Ptolemaic kingdom that was based in Egypt. And when was that based? When was it? That kingdom actually was the Hellenistic period, and that was founded in 305 BC to 30 BC. Well, founded in 305 and lasted to 30. So I found that interesting because doing some deeper study, and I wish I had a lot of notes on this, but it goes back. It really, really does. So Jason Cyrene was from that area at that time. Now, Hanukkah is a Jewish festival, celebrates the recovery of Jerusalem, rededication of the Second Temple. That's huge. But the Maccabean revolt gave birth to the Hasmonean dynasty, which ran from 140 to 37 BC. And then they yielded to the Herodian dynasty of 37 BC to 44 AD. Here's an interesting point. Do you know who came about during the Hasmonean dynasty? The Pharisees in 167. Remember, at the same time, so they created the Pharisees. It's just that simple. They created it. Because Judas Maccabee's nephew, John Hyrcanus, I could get his name wrong, he was a Hasmonean Maccabean leader and a Jewish high priest. That's the reason for the Pharisees. They want legitimacy. So they create the Pharisees. Isn't that interesting? And now they're connected to the Babylonian Empire. Oh, it gets crazy now, doesn't it? So here you have the Sadducees, same time frame, and the Sanhedrin sect. The Sanhedrin at the same time. Do you find it interesting? Now they talk about different, this Greek and that Greek. Well, there are five types of ancient Greeks. There's Ionic, Attic, Doral, Akadarot, and Aeolic. And here's something no one ever remembers. Well, the Jews hated Rome, and they didn't like Rome, and they were against Rome, and da-da-da, and so forth and so on. But no one ever talks about the Roman-Jewish treaty. And that was during the Maccabean Revolt. Rome said they'd protect the Jews of that dynasty, and the Hasmonean dynasty, the Maccabeans, said they would protect Romans, and they would be there to fight for them. And they'll say, well, Jews didn't kill Jesus. Rome did. The Romans did. So here's the thing. The Romans are the one who physically killed him with the spear. But those particular Jews... Now, I love when... And I heard Ben Shapiro say this once, and this really bugs me. He was talking about the far right. There's three types of people three types of anti-Semitic things. Interesting. Trinity. He was talking about three different types. And there was the just flat out, people just hate Jews. And there's another one. But the one that got me was the far right Christians. The far right Christians who say that the Jews killed Jesus, which is an absolute lie, he says. Well, hold on now. I didn't say the Jews. See what he did there? He said the Jews killed. No one said that. But it was Jews. It was certain Jews that were the reason for the killing of Jesus. It was meant to be. Obviously, this was all part of it, God's plan. I mean, they didn't know it at the time. I think some still don't, actually. But Jews did kill Jesus, but not Jews. Do you see what I'm saying? So not all Jews were part of the killing of Jesus, but a certain part of those Jews, certain sect of Jews, were the reason for them. Now, when you say, whoa, they didn't kill him, well, that's like me saying, well, I know my wife was murdered by a hitman that I hired, but I didn't do it, so therefore I'm not guilty. It's the same concept. In my opinion, that's the exact same concept. Because you didn't physically do it doesn't mean you weren't part of the deal. That makes no sense whatsoever. So when the Catholics say and that they don't pray to God and they follow Christ, well, really they're actually, and they don't like to be Pharisees. Well, actually they are. Because it is because of the Maccabean Revolt that you have the Pharisees. And the Sadducees are the same elite crowd. And the Sanhedrin, that's a different topic about how they have the 70 councils, the 70-member councils, and so forth and so on. But I'm not going to get into that. You can hear my papers rushing around, so I'm moving my space here so I can actually read what every Catholic seems to tell you. So we're going to go to 2nd Maccabees. Notice how they never go to the New Testament or the Old Testament. It's like all the answers come from the Apocrypha. We're going with that one because you don't have it in your Bible, so that's the one that's true. All right, of course, that's the answer to everything. Well, I guess you can might as well throw out the New Testament and Old Testament because you really don't care to live by them. And by the way, Sadducees were literal. They took the Bible literal. And the Pharisees were about the law. Now here's the interesting part. You'll have the Catholics, the Roman Catholic Church, tell you, well, it's right here. It says it in literal form. It's literally here. It's word by word. But other times when it doesn't back them, they become like the Pharisees. Well, you have to understand the meaning and the law. See, what they do is they take both sides. They mix them in along with their paganism. It's like a little buffet table there. Everything they want. So in 2nd Maccabees, chapter 12, verse 45, but we're actually going to back up a little. We're going to go to 39. In the day following, Judas came with his company to take away the bodies of them that were slain, and to bury them with their kinsmen in the sepulchres of their fathers. And they found under the coats of the slain some of the donaries of the idols of Jamnia. Now we can get into that, but I'm not going to, because I don't want to make the podcast too long. Which the law forbiddeth to the Jews, so that all plainly saw that for this cause they were slain. So they're already offense to God. They're an offense. They're not going to heaven. It's just not going to happen. They're done. They're not going. They died. They messed it up. Now they say, "Oh, they were fighting to bring back the temple, blah blah blah," but they didn't do it right. So you gotta go, "Hey, this guy does a lot of good works. He's a really great guy." Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. All right. So 41. Then they all blessed the just judgment of the Lord, who had discovered the things that were hidden. What does that mean? Verse 41, isn't that interesting? It means that they died. God let them die for their iniquity. They died in their injustices. They did not follow God. They had idols. They were not protected, and that's why they're dead. And so, betaking themselves to prayers, they besought him that the sin which had been committed might be forgotten. But the most valiant Judas exhorted the people to keep themselves from sin, for as much as they saw before their eyes what had happened because of the sins of those that were slain. See, sins of those who were slain. They sinned. They're done. They're gone. And making a gathering, he sent 12,000 drachmas of silver to Jerusalem for sacrifice to be offered for the sins of the dead. See, money. But God doesn't want your money. Thinking well and religiously concerning the resurrection. For if he had not hoped that they that were slain should rise again, it would have seemed superfluous and vain to pray for the dead. And because he considered that they who had fallen asleep with godliness had great grace laid upon them. Godliness. They're there. They're there. Not the ungodly who did not follow God, did not believe in God, did not have faith in God. They were too stuck on idols. It is therefore a holy and wholesome thought to pray for the dead, and they may be loosed from sins. So he had two attacks, and that's what they talk about. That's the verse they go to every single time. But he already admitted it was a sin. Now, Jason of Cyrene actually has quite the background in the time frame of the kingdoms of the different gods. They're praying to different gods so that they get to the other side. And that, of course, was from the Ptolemaic kingdom like I talked about. And they were interesting in itself. You can find a lot of this information out, but it's clear praying to the dead is unbiblical. Just because you found it in your Apocrypha. We'll get into stuff like that. Jason Cyrene. You ever notice there's not a lot of information about him, but you got a lot of detail about it. All the New Testament and the Old Testament. Interesting how that works out. But the Roman Catholic Church is a mixture of the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees, and the Sadducees. They're a little bit of every one of them. But the Roman Catholic Church won't be around forever because the Sanhedrin, or a type of Sanhedrin, will be set up again. I believe they're planning it already. So that's what I wanted to talk about tonight, about the prayers to the dead. The Sadducees didn't pray for the dead. The Pharisees or pray for the dead. It's just, I'm stumbling on my words, but it's amazing how people don't understand this. That is my time. It was a short video / podcast, but the reason I put this picture up there and stare at this. You look at these men, and I found this picture great because look, here's who's considered the peasants. By the way, these are the ones that are going to heaven. Well, I shouldn't say I don't know these people, but you understand my point. Look, consider these the Bible believers. And these are the ones who are too smart. They have too much wisdom to be them. They are above them. Imagine that. Bible believers right below them, and these people, let me put them right here, Bible believers, and those who are smarter than you, they've studied the Bible, they broke down every word, the law and this and that and the other. They studied the Bible. They read the Bible. And they saw what was simply easy to understand. Well, I shouldn't say they read the Bible. They didn't have the 1611 Bible. You know, we're talking about us Bible believers today. They understood. They heard. They felt it. And they feel nothing. Now you put a pope in there and call it a day. Don't forget the Sanhedrin. Well, that's my time this evening. I appreciate you tuning in. God bless and have a beautiful night.